All right, it's been 5 days since flight MH17 was shot down off the sky in eastern Ukraine, and there is still a lot of questions that need to be answered. And here to enlighten us a little bit is author Ben Judah. He's the author of Fragile Empire, How Russia Fell in and Out of Love with Vladimir Putin. Thank you for joining us today, Ben. How are you?
Thank you very well.
All right, Ben, the first question I wanted to ask you is I read the other day an article on Time magazine that established some parallels between what happened in 1983 with Flight 007 from Korean Airlines and the shooting down of MH17 5 days ago. And it says that that somehow kind of accelerated the downfall of the Soviet Union and said that Vladimir Putin was heading down the same road. Now, according to what I've read, Vladimir Putin is still a very popular figure in Russia. Is that correct?
Vladimir Putin has one of the highest popularity ratings within Russia now that he's ever had, and he has an 86% popularity rating with the people, having fostered a nationalist hysteria following the annexation of Crimea and the covert invasion of eastern Ukraine. However, amongst Russia's oligarchy, the Putin court, the people that matter, the money around him, his popularity is very low and has perhaps never been lower. Why would it be? The reason is that the Russian elite are a quintessential kleptocratic elite in the era of globalization. They steal in their home country and they stash the money in Western Europe, in British tax havens, in French chateaus, in Austrian banks, and in real estate from the United States to the south of Spain.
So
And
those
what
people support the West in this situation?
these people are very worried that the West could cut them off from their money.
Right.
They support Putin because Putin allows them to steal, and they're loyal to Putin because Putin has allowed them to steal so much. But their big nightmare is that they could wake up banned from accessing their assets.
Right, and it's interesting to me what you just said, that he's still one of the most popular figures in Russian history. Why is this? Is this because of the kind of propaganda that people hear and read in the media there? Because I've been reading that there are a lot of conspiracy theories going around in Russia that what happened 5 days ago in eastern Ukraine is actually everyone is responsible but Russia. From a lot of crazy theories, even one saying that the plane that was shot down was the plane that disappeared 4 months ago in near Australia. So why is this? Is this because of people have no real access to information there?
Well, firstly, Russians have a tendency to believe in conspiracies because in Russia there are conspiracies. Like Russians don't have access to the full range of information because the press is censored. They're aware of that, and that's why they're always looking for alternative explanations that might involve the government, their government, or other governments hiding things. And that's based on the quite rational belief that they know that their government is often lying to them. So why should foreign governments not be lying to them? Now, why is Putin popular and what does this have to do with the Soviet Union? It's very important to remember that Russia in the 1980s, it knew it was a country with difficulties. It knew it was a country which was very economically challenged and where there were shortages, but it thought it was a wealthy country, a superpower with an intervention in Afghanistan and a space station. And when the Soviet Union collapsed, Russia woke up as a half third world country,
right.
bankrupt with hyperinflation. Former generals had become beggars. KGB leaders had become night taxi drivers, and it left a very, very deep trauma. Right. And it also meant lots of territories that Russians felt were inseparable from what it meant to be Russian, and one of those was Crimea. And by annexing Crimea and having a huge propaganda barrage about it to cover up the fact that Ukraine itself was probably now lost to Russia forever following the Maidan revolution, Putin managed to trigger a whole wave of emotions that the collapse of the Soviet Union had somehow ended, that Russia had risen again from its knees, and that's why his popularity is so high right now.
Right. It's almost like it's going back to what it was during the Cold War. It's a bipolar world again, except in this case, well,
Yes.
it's again the Western civilization against Russia, right?
Russian TV is going back to where it was in the Cold War. Russian propaganda, Russia manipulating its own population, is The Russian economy? No, because let's remember who the communist elites were. Like, these were very, very nasty people, and they were involved in lots of terrible crimes. They weren't absurdly corrupt. They didn't steal vast amounts of money from Russians and put it in Britain or in British tax havens. They weren't capitalists like that. And that's the big difference, which is that you, like so much about contemporary Russia and all contemporary Europe, if you want, this new Cold War is a deeply hypocritical one, because the Russian elite that's fighting it is fighting it in order to be able to continue stealing, to continue putting that money in the West.
Now, Ben, do you think that there's a possibility that this could escalate into a bigger conflict? Because right now, I can tell that all sides are trying to contain this as much as possible, because no one wants to go to war. Not even in the United States, population, only 30% of the population feel that they should deploy troops in Ukraine in order to assist the Ukraine and stop the rebels from expanding their influence. So do you think that this could grow into something bigger?
The Russian state is very incompetent. The Russian military, even though it's big, even though it's well funded, even though it's got all that oil, keeps on screwing up throughout Putin's reign because it's so corrupt and badly run. If you remember the Kursk submarine, the Beslan school massacre, the Moscow theater siege, they keep on making errors. And this error of shooting down a Malaysian Airlines passenger plane taken by Russian-backed rebels is the latest in a long sequence of that. And because Putin has supported this stealth intervention in eastern Ukraine, that's likely to continue making mistakes, it's going to continue causing lots of deaths, I don't think we're going to have a real war between Europe and Russia, not in the slightest, but we could slowly be drifting towards an economic war with tit-for-tat sanctions and a rollback a lot of the globalization that's gone on between Europe and Russia.
Right. Well, and this brings me to my next question, which is, I don't know if you know, but a week ago, Vladimir Putin was here in Argentina, was having a meeting with President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, and apparently Russia is trying to sort of like make agreements with Argentina in order to for Argentina to become a strategic economic partner. So do you think that this could somehow, Putin's expansion over Latin America, what kind of effects do you think it's going to have on Russia's relationship with the United States and Europe?
Well, that's the right question to ask, because it's not really about Russia's relationship with Argentina or Russia's relationship with, with Peru or Venezuela. It's about Venezuela. It's about making it show that Russia isn't isolated. The whole point of this South American trip by Vladimir Putin was to go, not invited to the G8? I don't care. I'm at the BRICS summit in Brazil. Not invited to London? I don't care. I'm in Buenos Aires. Right. And it was a big show that, despite all of this rhetoric from Kerry and from Obama, there would be consequences. He wanted to show that Russia was still as global and internationally minded as ever and had friends all over the world, even in what the US considered its backyard.
Ben Judah, everybody. He's the author of Fragile Empire, How Russia Fell in and Out of Love with Vladimir Putin. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thank you.